All right. I think we're live now. I got everything plugged in. I think we're working. I think everything's working. So I think we're good to go. Let's get disclaimers out of the way and then we'll jump right into this one. This is the weekly live broadcast. This is the generally Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central. This is what I'm doing. I'm here. If you guys have, I think we're cutting my top of my head off. Let's move that camera a little bit. Sorry. I know that's going to get blurry because it's focus issues, but there we go. Maybe that's a little bit better. I don't feel quite so cramped. Saw myself on the screen. It felt like claustrophobic. Anyway, so Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central. This is generally where I'm at. I do my best to respond to every chat that comes in during the live broadcast. So if you've got a question that you've been trying to ask, I haven't been good about responding to comments. This is a good place to get it answered. I'll be happy to do that. I try to go through every chat that comes in, unless you're talking to somebody else, which if you are, that's fine. I just tend to skip over those. This pretty much asks me anything. I don't have a topic planned out. I let the chat kind of drive what we're going to talk about. Whatever you guys want to talk about is fine with me, but keep it family friendly, be polite, don't be hateful with anybody, don't start cussing anybody. We'll have to kick you out. Let's jump into it here. We got Free Time says, I made it this time. Well, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Says from Tennessee now, was Iowa last year. Okay, well, you moved. Probably a good move, I guess, hopefully. Tennessee's a nice place. I haven't been there. Well, I've been there once, but it was nice what I saw of it. Joy's here from Western Oregon. Good to see you too. Rob Clark from Canada. Tiny Quail Ranch from Ontario, Canada. Rob Clark says, I'm tired of winter already. Yeah, I know what you mean, especially after this last week. It was frigid cold. We had record low temperatures. We got down to -7, wind chills like -25. I don't know if you guys saw the Chiefs game. It was the fourth coldest game in history. Very cold. Tickets were going super cheap for that thing as a playoff game, and you could get tickets for like $30. It's only about a 2.5 hour drive for me. We could have gone, but that's just way too cold for me to go out there and sit in a stadium and watch a football game. But anyway, Joe Sandys here says, hey, everybody from Southeast Michigan, babysitting tonight. I'll be popping in and out. It's all good. We're just glad you made it. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully the babysitting's all good. Where are we at here? Wayne from Southeast Michigan. Good to see you too. Verna says, come on, everybody hit the thumbs up before Chris gets here and surprise him. Well, we got 14 of them. That's a pretty good surprise. Thank you, Verna. Rob Clark says, I don't raise quail. I'm getting into rabbits. The neighbor has quail. Well, awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. Raise what you want to raise. Don't raise them if you don't want to raise them. It's all good. Let's see where we're at here. Bev Smith is here, says, hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. And happy Thursday to you, too. Felt like it should be Friday all week. I don't know why. It just felt like a long week. We had a little bit of snow. Really kind of hung around for 2 days. Not a lot, about an inch. Closed all the schools until, today was the first day they all went back to school, I think. Joe Sandy says, many of the eggs have been freezing solid and splitting before I can get them. Sun sub-zero temps going on a week. Yeah, well, I'm dealing with the same thing. I get it completely, but hey, it's just a week of it. We're gonna get back up there. It'll be all right. Rob says, I'm an hour from Detroit, over 3 hours to Toronto. That doesn't really help me much. I'm terrible at geography. I know roughly where Detroit is, but not real well. Joe Sandy says sub-zero. Yeah, I knew what you meant. I read it right. Verna says, yeah, but if you can ship that. Okay, that's talking to somebody else. And there's Buster, says hello to everyone. And then we got Warchild from New Zealand. Good to see you. RBL Jackson, Jacob Wolf, and Sage Wolf all here. Good to see you guys. Show Me Bunnies and more says, hey, from Washington, Missouri. Say with that name, you got to be a Missouri person, right? If you guys don't know, Missouri is the show me state. I'm not sure what the real meaning of that is. I always kind of thought growing up that it was because we're not real gullible, so we don't just buy into things. We're like, you got to show me. You got to show me before I'm going to believe it. But some people say it's because we're stupid and you got to show us how to do things. But I doubt that's right. But anyway. Martin says, hello, did you get your rabbits bred yet? I got one of them bred. I put out a video 2 weeks ago. I did not do a video this last weekend because it was just too miserably cold to get out there and do anything. So I got the rabbits all tucked in, got the tarps down over the front of them, keep them out of the wind because that was brutal wind. And then I didn't really do anything with them. I'll try to get back out there and get the other one bred this weekend. One of them bred just fine. The other one did not want to breed, so I didn't get her bred yet. What is that? Is that RNO? I can't read that name. RNO5, RNO. What is that? I don't know what your name is, but he said, have you had any luck hatching those bigger eggs, 20 grams plus from Jumbo Browns? I've had 23 gram and 20 gram in the incubator currently. I don't ever weigh my eggs, but usually the great big eggs, the ones that are much bigger than the rest, those are double yolk eggs, and they don't usually hatch. And if they do hatch, your option or your chances of getting the chicks to survive is pretty low. So no, I don't think you're going to have much luck with them, but you never know. You might. Hey, there's Blessed with Pets. Good to see you. Diana Tuttle, hello to you too. Show Me Bunny says, let's talk breeding about rabbits right now. I'm struggling with my does. Yeah, that's a pretty common issue. I've got some videos that address it, but it's a pretty common issue. Your does don't always want to breed. Usually your bucks do. They're usually ready to go, but your does don't always want to breed. Now, there could be a couple of reasons for that. Rabbits are not like other animals. They don't just go into heat like a dog does every once in a while, and then that's when it's time to breed. No, rabbits aren't like that. Rabbits are induced ovulators. The act of breeding is what causes them to ovulate. So a lot of the times, if you just keep trying, you can get them to breed. Now, make sure they're old enough. Make sure they're big enough of weight. So they need to be at least 6 months old, probably close to about 80 to 90% of what their adult weight's going to be. So if you expect them to be a 10-pound rabbit, which is pretty standard for most meat rabbits, then they need to be somewhere around 8.5 to 9 pounds and at least 6 months old before you want to breed them. If they're too old and you haven't bred them yet and they get to be like a year and a half, 2 years old, it may be difficult to get them to breed. So a few things you can try, repetitive, just keep trying. Breed them and then breed them again. Maybe try breeding them again that evening, try it again the next morning, try it again the next evening, however often you can do it. Go ahead and keep trying. Give her 4 or 5 tries anyway. See if she'll, go ahead and warm up and go ahead and live for the buck. You can try putting her in a pet carrier, driving her around the block a couple of times, and then putting her in with the buck. I don't know why that would work, but people swear by it, so there's got to be something to that. You could also put some lights on there. Put lights on the hutch and light it up and get the hours of daylight up to about 14 hours, and that might help get her in the mood as well. Those are just some tricks that you can try to use. Other than that, it's just usually just patience. And then you can also do something else. There is one other thing. You don't ever want to take the buck to the doe, but what you can do is swap the cages for a few days. So take the doe, put her in the buck's cage, take the buck, put him in the doe's cage for a couple of days, and then swap them back. And then maybe a day or two later, take the doe back to the buck. That gives her a chance to get used to his area, his smell, familiar with him. So it may be a little bit more likely to go ahead and accept him and go ahead and let him breed. I don't know if I missed anything. If I missed a trick or something somebody knows about, let us know in the comment or the chat here below, and we'll get to it. Hey, Buck Reynolds is here. Good to see you, Buck. Says, want to say hello to everyone. Well, hello to you too. Clifton Buck says, hello, everyone from South Mississippi. Good to see you too. Scott from Texas says, again, what are the best breed the best meat breed rabbits in your opinion? Boy, there's a bunch of them. If you're looking for specifically just for meat, and that's your goal is just meat production, you want the best bang for your buck in meat production, it is hard to beat New Zealand whites for that. The downside of New Zealand whites is they do tend to be a little bit temperamental, especially the does. They can be a little bit hard to handle sometimes, but if they're not, if that doesn't bother you, you just wear long sleeves and gloves when you handle them so you don't get scratched up. If that doesn't bother you at all, they put out they're pretty productive. They get great grow out rates. If you get good purebred stock, you can't go wrong either with doing a New Zealand white and a California buck. I don't know that I can tell you which one's the best breed. It just really kind of depends, but both of those are great breeds, New Zealand's and Californians. You crossbreed those two purebred rabbits. You crossbreed, you get that hybrid vigor in that first litter. You don't want to use those babies as necessarily future breeders, but for just meat purposes, that's a great combination. Or you could do, a New Zealand buck and a California doe. Either way, it doesn't matter. Just two purebred rabbits that are of different breeds, and they breed together. You get the hybrid vigor. I like the silver foxes quite a bit. They're doing great. They're super easy to handle. The grow out's a little bit slower. Like my New Zealand whites, I can usually get them to 5 pounds by 8 weeks. My silver foxes are taking closer to 12 weeks to get there. But if you have the patience, they're easier to handle. There are some benefits to them as well. They've been pretty great. I mean, I kind of like handling them. I like dealing with them. There's a lot of different other breeds too. Standard Rexes make a decent breed of meat rabbit, and you get the benefit of the Rex fur with those as well. If you plan on keeping furs, Florida whites are a good compact meat rabbit. They don't get quite as big, but they're a little more compact. I think Verna's raising Havanas now and really likes those, so those are another option too. But if you're looking just like you want to get into meat rabbits and you want to get going fairly quickly without too much effort or too much work in finding good rabbits, New Zealand whites are probably going to be your best bet because they're going to be the easiest to find. I would stay away from anything that is mixed with Flemish Giant or Flemish Giants themselves. They tend to have really slow grow out rates. Their bone to meat ratio is not as good. They're not great meat rabbits in my opinion. And it's really common around here anyway when I'm been looking for meat rabbits to find people selling crosses, New Zealand white crossed with a Flemish Giant. And I would stay away from those. Those have never been great to me. Try to look for a purebreds if you can. Maybe look at like a 4-H club or a Future Farmers of America or state fairs, those kinds of things to see if you can get hooked up with somebody that has some. Scott says, I already read that one. Bless says, Great Pyrenees went into labor today. 8 solid white puppies so far. Well, awesome. Congratulations on that. I don't know if you're planning on selling them, but that could be a pretty decent chunk of change for you. Hideaway Homestead says, love your videos. Learned a lot from your channel before I got rabbits 2 years ago. Have you ever noticed growth rates in your bunnies by raising drinkers above 8 inches? Thanks for all your awesome videos. Have you ever noticed growth rates in your rabbits by raising drinkers above 8 inches? No, I don't know. I've never really played with that much and really paid much attention to that. I can't imagine that would affect them too much. I mean, as long as they can get water, they should be okay. It shouldn't affect their growth rate. If it is restricting their access to the water, though, rabbits that don't have water, they won't eat. So that could definitely impact their grow out rates if they're not eating. But if they can get to the water at all, they're going to drink it and they're going to be fine. I don't know how that would affect them. I've never really paid much attention to it, so that's just kind of all a little bit of guesswork, but I can't imagine it would have much of an impact on them. Abba Love says, hi all, my quail seem to do well in this Texas cold. Their water was frozen each morning, but they're doing okay. Yeah, mine have been doing great. I mean, they're still laying eggs. I've got the little heated water for them, so the water's not freezing up. Been pretty easy to take care of. They go out, you go out there, it's -4 degrees, -7 degrees with a negative 20 degree wind chill. And they're all just walking around the cage like it's just every other day. It doesn't seem to bother them a bit. But, a lot of the times they'll be more in the enclosed area during that time, but they still get out in the open and doesn't seem to bother them much. Verna says, Chris, I'm trying to find out who in Canada that can ship eggs. Yeah, I saw your comment about that too. So I was just skipping over when you guys were talking to each other. Jacob Wolf says, Chris, question on incubation for chickens. So I've been reading that you want 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit to set the temperature to. However, Purina suggests 100.5. Any idea why they suggest warmer? I don't know, honestly. I haven't hatched out chickens in a very, very long time. I've hatched out quail, but 99.5 is really, here's the difference. 99.5 if you've got a circulating forced air incubator, an incubator with a fan in it that blows the air around and circulates the air, that's 99.5. But if you do have a still air incubator, usually that's going to be 100.5 or even 100 to 101, which is, there's no fan or anything like that in it. We're talking about good size incubator. Now, if you're using a really small one, that's not going to apply necessarily. 99.5 is really the temperature. Honestly, I don't trust Purina's, feedback on things. I mean, they've had some pretty stupid commercials. I think Purina was the one that said that they had free range, 100% vegetarian chickens. And I'm like, that's impossible. You cannot do that. Then they've got the commercial out now where like they're, our competitors are using antibiotics. And not that I agree with the use of antibiotics all that much, but the commercial bothers me because they're like, our competitors are using antibiotics. And, if you just can't throw antibiotics at your problems and expect to fix them. And then they show people throwing antibiotics at a car. And, well, if your problems are bacterial, then yes, antibiotics will fix those problems. But, But I mean, I'm glad that they decided to not use antibiotics for everything, but I'm not sure that they're the expert on hatching chickens or anything to do with chickens. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not Purina. Maybe it's a different. No, it's not Purina, is it? That's Purdue, isn't it? I'm getting them mixed up. Never mind. Take back all I said there. But I don't really trust Purina on a lot of things, so I'm not sure that I would go to them for hatching advice. Billy says, hey, has anyone here ever tried raising pheasants? Yeah, we got a couple people here that have. Maybe, I'm not sure if they're here right now. They can give you some feedback on it, but we'll see. Joe Sandy says, Chris, do you live in Joplin? Did you live in Joplin when the big tornado went through? I watched a special about that today. Tragic. Yeah, I lived in this house right here, which is 3 blocks from where it touched down. Yeah, it was a kind of a scary event. I mean, I stepped out on the front porch and I saw it. I didn't know it was as big as it was. I thought it was smaller and it was closer to my house than it was, but it was about 4 blocks away from my house when I saw it, and I could see things flying around in it, which I thought was just small pieces of debris. It was actually pretty big pieces of debris. It was hitting the hospitals and, stuff like that at the time. And yeah, it went right through town. And, right afterwards, of course, I walked out of my house after it passed by and thought, well, we were okay. And then I looked down. I've got a road that kind of ends up right in my driveway, basically. And I looked down that road and I could see a very long way, which I normally can't. So I thought, oh, wait a minute, this isn't right. And we went driving around and check on people because you couldn't get a phone call out. And, man, it was like a war zone. I mean, it was crazy. It looked like somebody took a broom and just swept it through the town. And it's chaotic and tragic for sure. I don't want to go back through that again. But yes, I lived right here. I saw it. It was very close. I only lost a couple of shingles. I got very lucky. It could have been so much worse. Hey, Boris, good to see you. Buck Reynolds says, does anybody know anything about the hatching time incubator? Well, I'm not real familiar with it, so I can't speak to it. But I don't know. Maybe somebody else has some experience with it, and they can speak to it for you. Rick Yorn says, just got a cold snap in Chicago. I'm glad I ate my birds for Thanksgiving dinner. I had a flock of 14. My coop is on the 2nd floor deck of my apartment. Yeah, I haven't lost a single bird during this cold front. And like I said, we were down to -7 with -25, -30 degree wind chills. I didn't lose a single bird. They're all doing just fine. But yeah, I hear you. It does make it a lot easier when you don't have to go out in the cold to take care of them, Show Me Bunny says, thanks, appreciate that. That helps. Well, you're welcome. B-Tech Wind Solar says, put her in the car and drive her around the block. That'll make her breed. It might. I mean, I've tried that before and it didn't work when I tried it, but that's not to say it won't work ever. And there's lots of people anyway, sorry. There's lots of people that swear by that and say that it works. So try it out and see. You never know. It doesn't hurt to try. I mean, what's worse going to happen? Still not going to breed. It's not the end of the world. So she'll probably breed eventually. Hideaway Homestead says, hey, Buck Reynolds, didn't know you were a Slightly Redneck subscriber. Good to see you. You guys must know each other. Small world, huh? Martin Rabbit, Buck Reynolds says New Zealand. That may have been like, what's the best breed of meat rabbit? That may have been a response to that. I'm not sure. You guys can almost see Max back here. Max. Yeah, there, he turned his head. Martin says, how many rabbits do you have and what breeds do you have? Right now, I just have silver fox. I have 4, 2 does, 2 bucks, unrelated, so I can breed and sell breeders. That's it right now. But I do have 1 doe bred, so here in about, now we're a weekend, so 25-ish days, we should be getting baby rabbits. Wayne says, I've been working on a quail cage 3.0 until we got freezing temps. Yeah, I get it. It's hard to work out there in the cold. Ed Got Bait says, hey, Chris, wife loves your shirt. She has one, too. She said to say thanks to your wife for giving her the link at QuailCon and hi to everyone. Well, awesome. Are you talking about the shirt I'm wearing right now? Is this shirt? Did my wife give her the link for this shirt? I don't know. This is a fairly new one. Normal isn't coming back, but Jesus is. Read about it in Revelation 1:4. But interestingly, I'm not sure that Revelation 1:4 is a future event. I think it may have actually been an already past, but it doesn't matter. The point's still good. Rick says, Would skinning a rabbit be the same for skinning a cat and other small such animals? Well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I've never skinned a cat. I don't plan to. But yeah, everything pretty much skins out the same way. I mean, even deer, it's just you process pretty much all mammals the same way. It's just a matter of size, what they are, how big they are. So a Tara from Gilroy, California says, hope everyone's doing well. I hope you are too. Thanks for joining us. And then goes on to say, Ravioli had 5 baby bunnies. So we are back into baby bunnies. And Percy, our new buck, is now a proven buck. Well, awesome. Congratulations on that. Glad to hear that they're doing well. Yeah, David from McAllister says, hey, all from a slowly thawing McAllister quail trail. Yeah, we thawed out a little bit today, but then today was actually pretty nice. Yesterday wasn't bad. It was still pretty windy, and the wind was kind of chilly, but the temperature wasn't too bad. But today was really pretty nice. It got up to like 36 degrees today. That wasn't bad at all, but it's going to be dropping back down tonight. I think we're down to like 7 degrees tonight. Tomorrow's high is only like 19. So back to the cold for another day or two. Japanese Laparos. Is that right? I don't know if I'm right pronouncing that right. It says, working on my coop. Never raised quail before. When would be a good time to order eggs? Well, that depends. I don't know where you're located. Normally I would say, really a good time to get started on those is probably, if you're going to be ordering eggs, is probably in the spring when you're going into summer, because it's just easier depending on your climate. If you're in the deep south where it warms up really quick, well, then it's not as big of an issue. But around here where we stay pretty cool and pretty cold until like, April, at least, it's a little bit tricky for me to try to brood them. And incubating is not hard, but I don't brood in the house. I brood outside, so in my shed. So it is protected from the weather in a sense, but it's not heated and it's not really insulated. So I like to do it when it's a little bit warmer outside and I don't have to fight the cold. But you can, do it when you're ready. Get your cages built and all that. And when you feel like you're ready to brood them, wherever you're going to be brooding them, then go ahead and do it. If you're brand new to quail, you might start off with some actual, it doesn't matter. If you feel confident with incubating, go ahead and do it. But a lot of times I'll recommend people start off by buying quail from somebody locally. So you just get live birds that are already acclimated outside. You put them and then let them lay some eggs and hatch those out and get your experience hatching if you've never hatched before without putting a big investment in eggs. The other thing you need to consider too, though, is that after the first of the year, going into January, February, and probably into March too, that's the busy time of year for hatcheries. So if you're going to be ordering eggs from like My Shire, which is a great supplier, I highly recommend them. Whiskey Tango Farms is another one. There's several of them out there, but if you're going to be ordering eggs from those guys, they're probably going to be booked up for a little while, and it may be difficult to get a quick order out of them. But that's just a couple things to think about. Hideaway Homestead says, follow up on the drinker question. I've seen people on forums say that raising the drinkers will cause the rabbits to drink more, which in theory would cause them to eat more. Well, I don't know if that's true or not. Try it out and see. I have never tried doing that, so I'm not sure why that would make them drink more. But, who knows? Go ahead and try it if you want. Jacob Wolf says, okay, thanks for the info, Chris. I thought it seemed off for temp. I've been watching your video on incubating to learn more. Well, awesome. I hope it's helping you out, and good luck with your hatch. Rob says, I'm getting my does bred. Oh, I'm getting my does bred by my neighbor's buck. Should I get my own buck or continue taking my does to his buck? Not sure if it will cause disease problems. I'm not sure why you'd be concerned about disease problems with that. I don't know why that would be an issue. If his rabbits are healthy and your rabbits are healthy, then why not? And you don't have to have a buck. You don't have, if you don't have to have a buck, you don't have to feed it out. You can just take it over there, get it bred. Then, that sounds like a win-win to me. But get your own if you want to. I can't really tell you the answer to that, but I'm not sure what the concern about disease problems is, unless like his rabbits are sick or your rabbits are sick. There shouldn't be an issue with that. Joe Sandy says, the Lord certainly protected you for sure. Yeah, amen. He did for sure. My son was, during that, was actually at our church in the church, it's no longer there now, closed down, but the church where I was an elder at, he was in the church at their youth group, and they were down in the basement of that church. And it's just right off 20th Street. And that tornado went right down 20th Street. It's not very far from my house. It's 6 blocks or so. But luckily the church was okay too. So, he made it through that no problem. It was a scary time, but everybody's okay. Clifton says, we bought 3 Texas A&M does to breed with our New Zealand buck. Have you ever used the Texas A&M breed? I have not. I've looked for them before and haven't been able to find them, but they're just a New Zealand white, but specially bred by Texas A&M. But they should be great. There shouldn't be anything wrong with that. Buck says it was. I'm not sure what we're talking about. What was? I don't know what that means, Buck. I'm sorry. I lost track of that conversation already. So and Tara says, stay warm, everybody. Yeah, it's hard to do right now. It's pretty cold out. Well, actually, not right this minute, but has been. Dawn from South Mississippi, hello to you. Leanne says, are Rex rabbits good meat rabbits? Standard Rex can be good meat rabbits, yeah. Now, there's a mini Rex and a standard Rex. You wouldn't want to use the mini Rex for meat. There's nothing to them. But the standard Rex are a good meat rabbit. Lots of people use those or have in the past used them for meat. And you get the double benefit of them. They got really great fur. So if you want to sell pets, they're kind of a dual purpose. You could sell them as pets. You can skin them out when you process them, save the skins. And, they got really nice fur. So that's a dual purpose kind of rabbit. Don says, good evening from South Central Illinois. I'm late and lucky to be here for a few minutes. Can't stay. It's all good. We're glad you stopped by. Thanks for joining us. Jacob says, I like your idea for spraying eggs with Listerine. I did some more research on similar methods. North Carolina State University actually has a patent on using hydrogen peroxide misting in 1988. Really? Yeah, you can use different things. I like the gold Listerine, diluted with water, but you can use hydrogen peroxide. You dilute it with water, even rubbing alcohol. The idea is you're just killing the bacteria so you get a good clean surface, your clean environment, I guess, for them to oh, sorry, got distracted. Yeah, just a good clean environment for your eggs to hatch in. You don't have any kind of bacteria issues or anything. Ed said, yes, that shirt. It was the link to the shirt shop. Oh, okay. Well, good. Yeah, I didn't realize she did, but hey, glad she did. Glad it worked out. Jacob says it's a U.S. patent, whatever. If anyone is interested and they want to read the patent for the application of hydrogen peroxide for incubating eggs. There you go. There's a patent number. So look for Jacob Wolf's comment if you're interested. James says, thanks, Chris. Big help. We're from Louisiana. Well, there you go. What were we talking about? I can't remember now. I'm lost. Oh, well, it doesn't matter, I guess. You got what you needed. So Vincent says, my game bird feed is 28% protein and 1.5% calcium. Sounds great. That's a great feed. I mean, that's pretty close to what I use. Just what you need. David said, I've decided to move over from heat lamps to adjustable height heater shelves due to the safety concern. 2 12-inch shelves on the way. Well, I haven't used those. I've thought about it before, but I'm not really too terribly concerned about my heat lamps. I have them clamped and tied so they can't fall. They can't come in contact with anything. So I just don't worry about them too much. Now, if they did come in contact with something and burn my shed down, that would suck, but it'd just be my shed. It's out there a little ways from the house. So hopefully it would just be the shed. It wouldn't catch the neighbor's house on fire. Well, it's not close enough. I don't know. I guess it could catch their fence on fire, burn their fence down. It's a privacy fence, not too far away. But anyway, I'm not too worried about it. I've got them secured pretty well. But yeah, I don't know how I haven't used adjustable heat shelves before. Kind of curious. I've thought about switching over to them. Just don't see the need, so I haven't done it. Joe Sandy says, good night, everyone. I have to leave early, but we'll definitely watch the replay. Stay warm. You too. Hopefully, I think you're babysitting, you said. Hopefully the babysitting's going well. Bob Cole says, hey, folks, we got up to 45 degrees Fahrenheit today. Had a lot of snow melt. Yeah, I bet. We did too. Yeah, really, today was the first day that, we had a decent amount of it melt yesterday. But today was really, it was a big melt off. It's almost all gone now. There's very little snow left. Buck says it was about the best meat rabbits. What was about the best meat rabbits? I'm sorry, Buck. I jumped through so many conversations. I know I remember saying, I don't know what we're talking about. Oh, okay. Now I'm with you. The New Zealand comment was about the best meat rabbit. Okay. Gotcha. I have a hard time when, by the time I get to this comment, we've already talked about a bunch of things. I've already answered a lot of them. So I always have a hard time remembering what was I responding to earlier. I mean, you probably typed that right when I said it, but it takes a long time for me to get to that sometimes. Leanne says, awesome. Have 2 standard Rex rabbits. Well, that'll work great. No reason to get anything different. Bob says, I have never sprayed my eggs before incubating. Maybe this is one of my issues with low hatch rates. Eggs, pretty clean. Birds usually lay in the sandboxes. That will help tweak, get your hatch rate there. But if you're having low hatch rates, like really, I would say like below 50%, it's probably more to it than just that. I would check your incubator temperature. That's usually the key. That's usually the issue with a low hatch rate. It could be humidity. If your humidity is like way too high and they're drowning, basically. But the temperature is usually the more finicky thing. So get a couple of, I shouldn't say non-digital. Get a couple of thermometers, 2 of them, preferably. Make sure they're calibrated, make sure they're accurate first, and then put them in your incubator and see what they say the temperature in the incubator is. No matter what kind of incubator you have, they're notorious for being off just a little bit. So it may say 99.5, but it's actually running at 98.5. So you may need to bump it up a degree to actually get it to 99.5 degrees. So do that and check. That would be my first suggestion if you're having low hatch rates. But all that other stuff helps. Definitely can get you from I'd say get you from like a 75 to an 80% hatch rate. But it's usually not going to be the issue if you're getting really low hatch rates. Excuse me. Bob says, hey, Chris, how do you clean your quail eggs? I take 4 to 5 in my hands and rub them against each other under warm running water until they feel clean. I don't really clean my quail eggs. I mean, like Bob said, they lay most of them in the sandbox, so they're pretty clean usually. I just, I guess, whenever I take them out, and first of all, I don't clean them at all until right before I eat them. And then really I just put them in water to see if they float. And if they don't float, I throw them out. And they're soaking in water while I'm, clipping the ends. I just deal with that. I just call that good. I don't really mess with cleaning them too much. You could scrub them down if you want to, but I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to cook them. Any kind of bacteria on there is going to get cooked and killed anyway. So I just don't worry about it too much. But I don't tend to save eggs either that have a lot of, if they have a lot of quail manure stuck to them, I don't really keep those eggs. Gumbo Galahad says, hello all, greetings from Central Louisiana. I have to cook dinner, but we'll be listening. Hey, that's all good. What are you cooking for dinner? Kind of curious. And we're out of comments again, out of chats anyway. How many people got in? We got 56 people in here. 40 of you guys have already liked the video. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Give you an update on the new job. Most of you guys know probably I got a new job. I'm a data analyst now for a mental health and wellness facility in Kansas. Sounds wide because I live in Missouri, but honestly, I live right on the Kansas line. It's 15 minutes for me to get to the office, so that's not that big of a deal. It took almost a week. It did take a week for them to get me access to the database that I'm going to be pulling data from and reporting on. And then it didn't come with any kind of instructions. I didn't get a database diagram, nothing. I'm just got to dig through there and find the information. And it's a totally new industry for me. So I don't really know, I'm learning, but I don't know what any of these abbreviations mean. I don't know any of that stuff. So I don't know what's supposed to be counted as, what kind of client. I don't know. So I'm working through it and getting there, but it's been a little bit of work, a little bit of tricky to figure out. They didn't have a current, this is a new position. They didn't have anybody currently doing this. And all their reporting and stuff was kind of handled through a third-party software. So there's nobody for me to ask, where is this data? Where do I find it? Nobody knows. So I gotta figure it out for myself. But it's working. I'm getting there. Bob says, remember, I am at 7,800 or 7,800 elevation. I use 2 extra calibrated thermometers in my Brisnia. Low general humidity, but peeps do dry hatch. I've dry hatched before too. In fact, in the summertime, our humidity is pretty high in the summertime, so I tend to dry hatch in the summer. And now when I go into lockdown, I still add a little bit of water. But in the wintertime, I can't get away with that. When it's like fall, winter, when it's a little bit drier out, I usually have to add a little bit of water to get a decent hatch rate. But the humidity is not as sensitive as temperature. Your humidity, I mean, ideally you'd have it between about 55 and 60%, up until about lockdown, and then you bump it up to about 70, 75% at the most during lockdown. But the issue with humidity is if you go too high, that's going to be an issue. If you're at like 89, 90% humidity, then your chicks are going to drown usually before they ever get out of the egg. So that can be an issue. And if you have it really, really low, that can be a little bit of a problem too, depending on how dry you are. But I just kind of go by my hands. When my hands start drying out, cracking, I know I'm going to have to add water to the incubator. And if they're not, then I don't have to worry about it. David says heat shelves also use less power. Stay tuned, Chris. I'll let you know how it goes. Yeah, please do. Kind of curious how to see how they work. Bev says, I'm busy making dinner and listening too. Well, what are you making for dinner? I'm always kind of curious. I want to know. I'll tell you something I started doing I never did before. I took one of the chickens we raised, the spring, got a couple left still. Took one out of the freezer, thawed it out, and I broke it down, cut the breast off. The breast is my least favorite part of the chicken. It tends to be dry and kind of blah. But I was making stir fry, so that's a good use for that. It's going to be in a liquid. It's going to be fine. So anyway, I took all the skin, peeled the skin off of it, and instead of throwing that skin out, I laid it out and patted it dry with some paper towels, sprinkled a little bit of salt on that, threw it in the air fryer at 400 degrees for, maybe 7-8 minutes, something like that, until it crisped up. And that's pretty good. You should try that if you haven't tried it. It's like chicharrones de pollo, I guess is what you call it. Pork skins, but with chicken. So Inter says, Bob Cole, how do you have room for those eggs with the thermometers in there? Yeah, that's always a little bit of trick. I don't keep the thermometers in there while I'm incubating. I throw them in the incubator, make sure everything's running okay, and I take them out when I put the eggs in, because at that point, if it was running okay, if it's running at the right temperature beforehand, I assume it's going to keep running at that temperature. I don't mess with the incubator temperature while the eggs are incubating. Jacob Wolf says, I'm getting ready to buy an incubator. I'm considering the Nurture Right 360, Matacoop X, or Brisnia. Any recommendations from anyone? Anyone heard of any issues or problems with these? Yeah, they all have their own problems. I mean, like I said, everybody's every incubator is notorious for having issues with tracking the temperature correctly, but it's not so much that, and I don't know about all these specifically, so I can't speak to those necessarily. I'm using a Brisnia Ovation right now. I think it's the 336 maybe. I can't remember, honestly. It holds a lot of eggs. Maybe it's a 56. I think it is. Brisnia Ovation at 56. I'm using that right now, and it's working great. But I used a little giant styrofoam incubator for like 10 years, and it worked great. But like I said, the problem is not so much that you have, check your incubators. I don't know all of these, so I can't speak to those. So if anybody can speak to them and says, well, this one doesn't hold temperature very well, that's a different issue. Both of my incubators, they hold temperature pretty well. I haven't had any issues with that. But sometimes, like the thermostat reads 99 and it's actually only 98. That's the only issues you might have with it. But once you know that, well, then instead of running it at 99.5, I run it at 100.5, and it's actually 99.5 in the incubator, so it's okay. If you are having issues with your incubators, like losing and not tracking temp very well, make sure you got them in a fairly temperature stable environment that doesn't have huge fluctuations in temperature. They can deal with gradual changes in temperature, no problem. But like I had issues one time with hatching. I had 3 or 4 hatches that were just terrible. I couldn't figure out what it was. Finally, it hit me. I had the blinds open on my window there, and this is a south-facing window, so the sun would go across, during the day while I was at work, shine right on that incubator and heat it up. And the incubator can't do anything about that, and it was causing issues with but don't put it above a thermostat or like an air conditioner vent or a heater vent. Try to get it away from that, so it's not, when the air conditioner kicks on, it's not blowing a bunch of cold air and cooling it down really fast. A drafty window or anything like that can affect it too. But anyway, I don't know if that helps you out or not. Those are I can't speak to any of them. I've used the Brisney one before, and it works pretty well, but I can't speak to the others. I haven't used them, but I'm sure they're fine. S.O. Swanson says, Bob, we know you can never have too many thermometers in the incubator. Yeah, no kidding. Sierra says, good day from Australia again, Chris. Interesting to see how cool you are over there. It's about 90 degrees Fahrenheit where I am and high humidity. My 6-week-olds have been started laying and doing well, although small eggs. Well, yeah, that's summertime there, isn't it? Yeah, we're on the other side of the world. It's wintertime here. So give us 6 months, we'll be flip-flopped and doing the different. It'll be 90 here and cold there probably. Bev says, I'm just making a little veggie homemade pizza. Well, awesome. That doesn't sound bad at all. I don't mind veggie pizza. It's okay. I like meat quite a bit, so I eat, usually have a lot of meat on my pizza, but veggie pizza is okay. What I can't understand is cheese pizza. It's so boring. I don't understand why anybody wants cheese pizza, but that's just me. Miss Kitty says, hello from Utah. We got down to the teens. How are we doing on time? Oh, we got like 20 minutes left. We're doing great. Miss Kitty says, hello from Utah. We got down to the teens, but tons of snow. A foot over a week, and then a foot in one day finally stopped snowing. Wow, we didn't get anywhere near that much. That would be that would shut us down for sure. I mean, that would a couple of feet of snow. I've seen some fairly good sized snows. I think the biggest I can remember is about 18 inches. And that was a lot of snow for us. We're not equipped to handle that much snow because we don't get that much. Usually we get, I think it's rare that we get over about 2-3 inches in one event. And then it's usually gone before we get snow again because, usually we don't stay cold that long. But my dog's barking. I don't know if you guys can hear him. He must see something outside. Yeah, he's going outside to bark at it now. But that much snow, that's a lot of snow. I can't imagine having to deal with it. Sierra says it's terrible heat. Humidity rules. The high humidity with your heat does make it. Well, we have the same thing during the summer. We usually have pretty high humidity. We get people from like Arizona where it's like 115, and they'll come here thinking it's only going to be 95 degrees there, and they think that's going to be nice and cool. And they get off the plane and they're like, "Oh my gosh," because it's so humid. And then same way. I've been to Miami, Florida. You get off the plane there, and it's like you almost can't breathe. The air is so thick and heavy there. That's high humidity. Anyway, where are we at here? Bob says living in Missouri and working in Kansas means you now need to file income tax returns for both states. Yeah, something like that. I can't remember. My wife works in Oklahoma, so we do get a credit for income tax paid to another state. I don't know how it works out exactly, but we'll figure it out. Bev says I had a nurture right, it must be, but the top cracked within 3 months. Great company, though. They sent full refund. Temp was off by a couple of degrees, but no big deal. There you go. Ralph says, what humidity level would be too low for dry hatching? Well, I don't know that I can answer that exactly. If you put a glass of water out or, like a dish of water and it evaporates within like an hour or two, it's probably too low in the humidity. But like I said, I just go by my skin. When I have to start using lotion, when my hand starts drying out and cracking, you probably can't see that. Let's see if it will focus on my hand. I don't know if you can see right there, the dry skin right there. I know I got to use lotion 2 or 3 times a day, or my skin starts cracking. I start bleeding down here around my wrist, up here in the finger. That when that starts happening, I know it's too dry out, and I have to add water. So I don't know what humidity level that is. It's pretty low. I'd say probably if you're looking at 40% or under, maybe. But I don't know. That's just a guess. Tony from Toronto's here. Good to see you. Scott says 72 degrees today. Gotta love Texas. But 29 tomorrow night. Yeah, that's the bad thing about Texas is that, you're right. I mean, it stays nice. When I lived in Texas, I lived in Nacogdoches for about 8 years. And it stayed warm. Like you said, like 70 degrees in December and January. But usually around January, February, it would start cooling off. And honestly, 29 degrees in Texas, that's pretty cold for you guys. I mean, you're not used to that. You're not prepared for it really. And if you get an ice storm down there or snow, it rightfully so rightfully so, shut you guys down because you're not prepared for it. And that's rough. I mean, people don't understand, if you're not acclimated to it, 29 degrees is cold. It was bad when we first got winter here and, 29 degrees outside. Man, it was cold. I mean, it was hard to get out there and do anything, but I'm pretty well acclimated to that now. So 29, I mean, today it was, when I got up this morning, went out to feed, it was like 20, well, no, it was 32 degrees out. And it was like, it felt balmy, it felt good, Gumbo says, not cooking anything special. My lady wanted hamburgers and homemade fries. She got tired of the gumbo I made for the freeze. Yeah, I get tired of things I don't mind leftovers. I kind of like having them, but I do get tired of eating the same thing over and over and over again. So, but that works, nothing wrong with burgers and homemade fries. So Terry says, hey, Max. Well, he's long gone now. I don't know where he is now, but Buster says, I got to 50 degrees today and tomorrow degrees. I don't know what that says. There's a 24 degrees. I think is what it says. Tomorrow. Yeah, we got the same kind of thing. We didn't go to 50 degrees. We got to like 37 or 38. And then I think tomorrow it's going to be like 19. Tonight it's going to get down to like 7. It's going to be cold again. And then the weekend's looking pretty cold. Saturday and Sunday. Next week looks like we're going to be back up to about average temperatures, so we should be getting close to 40, 45 degrees during the day, mid 20s at night. Buck says we had below zero for 2 or 3 nights. Yeah, we did too. Several nights actually. Really since about Saturday, we've been below zero every night. Pretty close to it anyway. And then we come to the end of the comments again. We got 14 minutes left. So I've already told the only story I could do about work. I don't know what else to talk about until we get some more chat coming through. Excuse me. Boris says, Chris, A plus D ointment, diaper rash plus, I don't know what that said. There's something, plus skin protection 4 ounce. Works best, little smells. You're talking about works best for my hands, keeping them from drying and cracking. Well, maybe. I don't know. The lotion I use actually works pretty well. But we've also, sorry. I just have to do it several times a day because I wash my hands a whole lot. I wash them after I invest with the animals. I wash them after I feed the dog. I'm pretty much all the time I'm washing my hands, which is probably why I don't get sick very often. Big reason anyway. But that washes all that off, and that just leads to worse problems with it. But actually, the last couple of days, it hasn't been as bad. It's a little better. David Lister says, MyShar Farms has several YouTube videos testing out a number of different incubators worth watching. That's true. I forgot about that. You're right. Yeah, they did a test on multiple different incubators. And so, yeah, watch that. Go check out that series. Boris says in Walmart. Oh, that's where the A&D ointment stuff is. Okay, I'll check it out. So, and Tara says, when are you starting seeds inside using your indoor starting again this year? Yeah, that'll be like late February probably. If this year goes anything like last year, let me back up. So the only things I start inside are things like tomatoes and peppers, primarily just tomatoes and peppers are about the only things I start inside. Everything else I pretty much just plant in ground and let it grow because it grows fast enough. I don't need to really get it started inside. Tomatoes, peppers, I do about 6 weeks before I plan to plant them out. We're usually planting out somewhere around Mother's Day. So I'm looking at 6 weeks before Mother's Day, late February, April, roughly. First week of April, probably. But anyway, where's I going with that? But I may wait a little bit longer because if this is anything like last year and really the year before too, I mean, it was too cold to put tomato plants out all the way up until it was like the first week of June before I could get things out. It seems like our seasons are shifting a little bit. They have for the last couple of years anyway. It's getting colder a little bit later in the year and it stays colder a little bit later in the year. So it's like I don't know. It's weird. It's almost like instead of, from like October to, really first week of May until instead of that, it seems to be more like November, maybe mid-November till about the first, week of June, that we can't plant. So, I don't know. We'll see. But I'm probably going to be doing that somewhere around the first week of April. Well, I'm sorry. I said late February. I meant like mid-March, probably somewhere right around in there. There we go. Get my timing right. You get what I'm saying. Ed Got Bait says, do the people at your work know you're a YouTube star? If so, are they surprised? I haven't really talked about that. I mean, I've mentioned that I have a YouTube channel to one or two people because it just came up in some conversation. But no, I don't think they realize that and I wouldn't call myself a star, but they don't know that I have a 100,000 subscribers and all that kind of stuff. I haven't really talked about that much. Leanne says, I'm a little concerned that one of my hens got freezer burn on her comb. Are we talking about a chicken, I'm guessing? And, that can be an issue with chickens for sure. I'm guessing you're talking about a chicken. You said they're combs, so that's probably what you're talking about. That can be an issue. I know that that's happened. I mean, I've heard of that happening with chickens quite a bit. I haven't had any issues with the quail. No issues at all. They're all fine. Hopefully it makes it through okay. Sage Wolf says, for anybody who wants to start raising quail, I recommend getting 4-week-old birds. They are more tolerant to slight mistakes. That's a good suggestion. Yeah, you don't have to worry about super old birds. You've got birds that are old enough to be outside and not have to worry about acclimating them to it. And you get a good long life out of them. You get a chance to get them to acclimated to their environment. You don't have to go through that, change environment, waiting for them to start laying eggs again. You just let them grow up and start laying eggs naturally when they are going to. That's a good suggestion. Jacob says, anyone have automatic watering systems? Did you use vinyl tubing or polyethylene tubing? I'm having trouble finding the polyethylene tubing in black. Black vinyl is easy to source though. Yeah, I use clear tubing on mine. I mean, I get some algae growth in it, but it's not enough to really cause any problems until, right about the end of the season when I got to take it down. That's when it starts getting really clogged up with the algae buildup. It doesn't bother the birds at all, or the rabbits, for that matter. And I just take it out and clean it out whenever I'm done at the end of the year and put it back up. So I don't know. I don't know what anybody else can answer. I mean, I think it may be vinyl though. Now that I think about it, I'm not real sure. David says, do you feed your rabbits hay or pellets? Can rabbits live on pellets alone? Rabbits can absolutely live on pellets alone. I don't feed hay all the time. I do bring in some hay sometimes and feed. But yes, you can absolutely feed rabbits on pellets alone. In fact, if you want the absolute best grow out rates for your kits, feed them nothing but pellets. Don't introduce hay or anything else, because the pellets are complete nutrition. They're complete. They're the best, basically the in a sense, the most efficient feed that they can get. And you're going to get your best grow out rates by feeding nothing but pellets. Mr. Matto wants to know, what kind of quail do you raise? Well, I raise Coturnix quail. But more specifically, I stick to the Jumbo Pharaoh Coturnix. Jumbo Wild, you may call them, or Jumbo Browns. You may have heard them called that before. They're all the same thing. Those are my favorites. They have Coturnix have all kinds of different color strains and, different, I guess you call them breeds. They'll all interbreed. They're all the same species, but they're all kinds of different color mutations that you can get. I like the Jumbo Browns because they're as big as any of the big, the Jumbo birds. They lay as big as many eggs, and they're feather sexable. So I can look at them and just tell which one's a rooster, which one's a hen, just by looking at them. I don't have to event sex them or anything like that. So those are the ones I use. S.O. Swanson says to Jacob Wolf, I use the clear and put them inside the pool noodles to hide them from the sun. Well, that's probably a good idea. Hideaway Homestead says, first time catching a live. Looks like I've been missing out. Looking forward to the next one. Really enjoyed it. Thanks. Well, awesome. I'm glad you made it tonight. Thank you for joining us. And I'm glad that you found it entertaining, helpful, whatever it was. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We got 6 more minutes. I thought we were done the way you said that, but that's okay. We got 6 more minutes. Jacob says, yeah, I thought about covering them. I can get clear and frosted polyethylene locally in the hardware and big box stores. Yeah, that's what I'm using as a clear. Leanne says, yes, my chicken. So that's the chicken that got frostbite on it, maybe. I don't know how to take care of that, honestly. I've never dealt with that, but good luck. I hope it recovers okay. Blessed with Pets made it back. Good to see you. Just in time. You got about 6 minutes left before we shut down for the night. Gumbo Galahad says we're supposed to get them down we're supposed to get down to the 20s tomorrow night, and it will warm up and plenty of rain will come. Yeah, that's kind of what we're looking at too. Well, we're getting colder than the 20s. And then going into Monday, I think Monday, Tuesday, we're looking at rain. Lots of rain coming for those couple of days. Maybe a little bit of freezing rain Monday morning. Someone here says, I have a video on an automatic watering that never runs out of water. Oh, excuse me. Oh, yawn caught me. Sorry. It says never runs out of water if it doesn't freeze and uses 1/4 inch irrigation tubing. There you go. David says, do you feed pellets measured each day or let them eat all they want? No, I limit the amount that they eat because they will overeat. They'll get fat. So basically it's somewhere around 8 ounces of pellets a day. I have a little 1 cup measure. It's pretty much a full cup. Now, I do watch my rabbits though. So when I go to feed the next morning, if they just, as soon as I put feed in the feeder, if they just dive in, it's completely empty out of feed and they just dive in and start gorging themselves on pellets, well, I give them a little bit more in that cup, just maybe another 1/2 ounce more that day. And then I kind of learn your rabbits over time. If I go out to feed the next day and there's feed still left in the feeder, I feed them just a little bit less. So I have 2 rabbits that really eat quite a bit more. So I'll give them a little bit more every day when I feed. And then I have one that eats right at 8 ounces every day, and she's fine with that. She's not, dying to get food. She'll come and eat, but she's not like, as soon as I put feed in there, she's just diving in. And I got one that usually leaves a little bit left over, so I kind of limit him a little bit. Scrap 5000 says, dang it, I missed it. What's up, y'all? Greetings from New York City, and smash the like button. We got 55 likes, only 54 people here, so they're doing good. Blessed with Pets says, I was playing card games with my cousins. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Go spend time with your family. It's all good. So and Tara says, I heard protecting combs with Vaseline or coconut oil. Not sure what to do after the fact. I'm not sure either. And honestly, yeah, that would probably work, but we got so cold, I don't know that it'd make a difference. Jacob says, I also had thought about covering the tubing with automotive wiring loom from Harbor Freight. Cheap and easy solution. Well, there you go. That might work too. S.O. Swanson says, we're having frozen fog, trying to figure out how fog freezes. Yeah, that's pretty interesting, huh? I don't know either. Chris Esteb says, hey, Chris, how many quail do you currently have? I've got about a dozen right now. I think I've got 10 hens and 2 roosters. I just pare down quite a bit for winter. I don't keep a huge number. Leanne says, I really enjoy your live shows and the chat is great. Well, thank you. I'm glad that you like them. I like doing it too. Blessed with Pets. I'm so excited. This is my first purebred litter of puppies. Her first litter was accidental and my cousin's blue heeler. This litter, we brought her to a Pyrenees stud. Well, that's great. I remember you talking about that. So congratulations on your litter. I hope they all do well. Is it Ji Wong, I think? Maybe I got that right. Hopefully I did. Says, thanks for your videos. We got 17 degrees yesterday in Texas, and it took care of the water feeder every 2 hours. Yeah, you're doing more than I am. I water, well, my quail have the automatic water, and their feeder is not an issue because I just keep the quail feeder full. But the rabbits, I water them twice a day. I go out in the morning, I go out in the evening when I get home from work, and they get their drink of water then, and that's all they're getting for the day. Buck says it's about 20 cents a day to feed a rabbit. Okay. I guess that depends on your feed cost, but that sounds about right, I guess. Somebody gave a 2-minute warning. It's actually a 1-minute warning now. S.O. Swanson says frostbite combs will be dead tissue, will eventually dry up and fall off, not to regrow. Ugh, that sounds hideous, doesn't it? So and Tara says, thanks for the chat. Stay safe and warm, everybody. You too. Hopefully you're doing well there. I guess it's probably not too cold where you're at, huh? Blessed with Pet says, I've got 6 rabbits due next week. I really hope I get litters. Haven't had any since March. Well, good luck with that. I hope it does well. S.O. Swanson, be sure to thank Mrs. Rednecked for sharing you again this week. We appreciate you. All you do for the community. Well, thank you very much. I'll tell her that for sure. All right, I guess it is time to wrap this one up. I can smell dinner. It's cooking. We got lasagna tonight. Frozen lasagna, but hey, it was quick and easy. And thanks for joining me tonight, guys. It's always good to hang out with you guys. I appreciate your time, taking your time away and coming and hanging out with me for a little while. I don't see any reasons why we won't be back next week, so we'll see you guys then. And as always, God bless.